Testing. Check, 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 check. Baby shark doo 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 doo. Sorry guys. Sorry everyone. Hopefully y'all can hear me now. Do apologize. Welcome back. So sorry. Yeah, what we were trying to do. Oh, cool. Everybody's jumping back in. All right, we'll wait for just a minute here. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, what we were trying to do is we have these things called the Roadcaster Pros, and it's like this podcasting station that is awesome. And you have the ability to set up Bluetooth with your phone, and then you guys can actually call in and we can talk. So it's like uh, new record day, disc jockey time, which is cool. So that's something I definitely want to do here in the future. Good evening, Ron. Well, good evening to you, Mr. Ryan Ship. Certainly appreciate you jumping on board here tonight. Man, I was anxious doing this. It's crazy that I've had this channel for so long and I've never done a live stream. So hopefully you guys dig this. What I was thinking is that maybe I can evolve Frequency Fridays into like a thing that we all do and kind of hang out because let's face it, audiophiles don't have lives. So we just stay at home on Friday nights and listen to music. So we might as well chat about music and, gear and all that fun stuff. Um, okay. Naveen Kumar, please suggest me a good speaker in $2,000. No, I'm not gonna do it because that's like, I mean that's like, hey, what's a good car at $30,000? Like, there's a lot of there's a lot of good cars. There's just so much. It really does come down to, what it is that you're actually after, what it is that you want. All of those things make a huge difference. So, I'd love to help you out, but if you give me like more of a breakdown, and you can email me at ron@newrecordday.com and give me more of a breakdown as to what it is that you're actually looking for. Um, what kind of music you listen to, the room. Tell me about the room. Give me the dimensions. Let me know how much room you have to play with. All of those things matter. So, yeah, that's that. All right, looks like people are starting to jump back in. All right. Let's see here. Hi-Fi trucker. Choose one. Speakers with small drivers or large ones. I guess it just that's what how small are we talking, and how big are we talking? If we're just talking like traditional, like big box speakers with big woofers compared to like narrow baffle speakers, I tend to like the stuff with the more narrow baffle, smaller drivers more than the larger stuff, but that's not always the case. It's hard to just make a blanket statement like that. All right, let me just see here. In your vast experience these past years, what would be your go-to setup? Oh boy. I've had the Vinny Rossi Leo the longest, for sure, but it does have limitations because of its limitations in wattage. But as an integrated amplifier, it's fantastic, and the modular design is genius. Vinny knows what the heck he's doing. So there's that. However, if we're going like tube, then the mod right stack that I've used off and on, um, it's really good, really good. So there's that. In terms of speakers, right now, I don't really have a reference speaker per se. Um, as you guys know, I do love the NXoticas from GR Research. They're an open baffle design, but there's many other speakers that I love for different reasons. And for me, I'm the kind of guy where it's like it's hard for me to pick one speaker. It's almost like, oh, what kind of mood am I in? What do I want to listen to? And then I'll, you know, go for a different speaker. Um, Probably not the best answer there, but like lately I've been listening to the Dantes a lot, so I'm kind of on that kick right now. It doesn't mean that they're my favorite, doesn't mean that they would be my go-to, but they're very good. Whereas like the NXoticas, you can listen to those over the long haul, never get fatigued, and you can feed them less than stellar recordings, and they will forgive just enough to get by. Um, Looking back on your reviews, what's your one favorite, two most impactful, and three, one you would revisit if you could? Favorite favorite review would be the what were they? Sound sommeliers, the Cavart and Bolgay sound sommeliers. The reason why that's my favorite review is I felt like I was kind of at the height of just being really creative, starting off by driving in the car and looking like a fool, like setting up my digital SLR in the car as I'm driving and talking into it, and then first time having my daughter Georgia on camera. There was a lot of really cool things in that review. So that one's probably my personal favorite review. Most impactful review. I know that the review that probably had the most impact in general is probably the Ryan R610s. That got a lot of attention for good reason. That was a great sounding speaker. So that one had a huge impact. And then the one that I could revisit if I could, gosh, I would say, I might even actually go back and say the Maggies, because I might feel different about Maggies now than I did then. Kind of feel like, forgive me, I feel like they're a little boring. It's like, yeah, we're gonna sip some warm milk at night and listen to some jazz, which that's great if that's your thing, but I feel like they're kind of a bedtime story. I'm gonna get myself in trouble. Um, but there are some good Maggies out there for sure. So if that's the sound that you're into. Um, Hey Ron, what are your thoughts on the XLS Encore kit from GR Research? I'm debating building some for a bedroom setup. Yes, you should do it. They're one of my favorite bookies that you can buy, and at that price point, if you're willing to do the work, then they are, I would say, the best value that I've come across while in this crazy hobby. Is those are going to be pretty tough to beat until you get quite a bit higher in terms of price. So do it. Hey Ron, what are your thoughts? Oh yeah, I just read that. What's the best GR Research do-it-yourself speaker kit, bookshelf, or floor standing? Best, as you guys know, I stay away from that word best because you're kind of painting yourself into a corner when it comes to listening to speakers. There's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. Um, the NXoticas are my favorite. And I know in talking to Danny that they are up there for him as well. So that's that. Uh let's just see here. Jeff Newell, AVR X3600H thoughts. I don't know. I don't even know what that is, so I can't comment. Chris, you're a carpenter with a CNC looking to build something. That is awesome. Ishan Rashid, if I'm saying that, I'm sorry if I just butchered your name. I do apologize humbly. Are GR Research upgrades snake oil? No, they're not. Um, Ryan is asking, Ron, is it safe to say that Class D amplifiers, I'm not sure what word you're saying there, can sound just as good as Class AB now in 2019? Y- yeah. Uh, yeah, I think they're as close as they have ever been. I'm getting ready to release the NADM10 review. I love that little thing. Um, Uses Hypex modules inside. I like the Hypex stuff a lot. Still just a little bit dry. Just a little bit, but nowhere near like it used to be. So, Class D is not something that I shy away from, unlike a lot of other reviewers out there that just don't give them the time of day. There's some good stuff out there. And when it comes to efficiency and power, like Slam, they do that. So it's cool. You should review the Magnapan 1.7i. Okay, I'll consider it. Um, what are your thoughts on room correction? Okay, so I actually talk about this with the NADM10. It has direct live room correction software. It's built into the actual unit, and it is the most impressive room correction offering that I have seen so far. I haven't, I can't pretend to say that I've heard them all. I haven't, but back in the day, I had like the D speaker unit. If you guys know what that was, and like I've heard the anti mode unit, and those were awful. They were crap, just garbage. Whereas this is the most natural sounding room correction that I've ever heard. And there's some YouTube videos out there where people that are way smarter than me, engineers from Dirac, talk about how they did what they did. And I know that it starts at the, I think it starts with the impulse. So they're actually grabbing the actual impulse of the speaker and they're getting the information they need in order to do the room correction instead of just relying just on sheer DSP. I'm probably wrong in everything that I just said, but that's what my takeaway was with Dirac. But what's killer about it is you can set up curtains and decide what you want to process and what you don't want to process. And what it does process, I feel like pretty it's pretty good. It sounds nice. And one of the things that always plagued room correction in the past is that as soon as you move like off axis, then it falls apart. But with Dirac, I haven't measured it, but I don't think that's happening to the same degree that it used to. Sorry to get long-winded there. Moving on. How do you like the ELAC debut references? Thought they'd be out already. Yeah, I thought that Andrew said Thanksgiving time, like November. So I don't know what's going on. I liked them a lot. Joey and I actually heard those at Rocky Mountain Audio Fest, and we, did those videos for ELAC, and we were both impressed. Andrew Jones is like when it comes to the builders out there, he's like Chuck Norris and RoboCop combined. I think that's actually Andrew Jones. If you could change anything to better hi-fi gear, what would it be? What would you think would be the benefit or the hobby the most? Oh, Tito, I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Like, if we're talking about like the industry, like if we're talking like Ron, taking a look at the way that the industry is, what would you do to change it? Let me know if that's what you're asking a little bit later, and I'll circle back around to that. Um, Synergy. Okay, Trey is asking, too much information for text. A small company such as Musical Paradise, all two based components designed and a cohesive experience. Question: is it best to stick with a small company for front end? I could make the argument both ways, and I know I saw a video, a YouTube video, and I'm his name is escaping me, and I feel like such an idiot right now, but they were actually trying to tackle this topic, and he was making the claim that small companies are always gonna be the better option because they're passionate and they're hungry and they're trying to make the best products that they possibly can. But, uh, large companies get lazy and fat, and then they're not trying anymore. I would make the argument both ways saying, Could be true, not always true, but keep in mind that it's the large companies that have lots of money for research and development, and so that you can't ignore that. You can't just say, "Ah, no, it doesn't matter." No, it does freaking matter. If they have ways of testing speakers or, anechoic chambers, that goes a long way in the final product. So, it's a darn I could do an entire podcast just unpacking that, peeling back the layers. Um I just bought 5 Class D amps for $1.50 on eBay. That's awesome. Cool. Thought even PS Audio uses ICE modules. Yes, PS Audio, that is confirmed. I know that they do use ICE modules. Would love to see ELAC reference versus GR research reference. What are the GR research reference? I wonder if you mean the XLS Encores. Reviews coming. Yeah, I mean, ELAC reference is I think Joe mentioned this earlier. Joe, have you talked to okay, hold on. ELAC said debut reference will be out late this week. We'll see though. There's no question we'll be able to get our grubby hands on the reference and I'll put it through its paces. If you're asking me right now off the cuff, do I think that the ELAC debut reference is better than the XLS Encores? I would say it's probably going to be a fair fight and it might just come down to which tone, which flavor of ice cream do you like a little bit more? But I'm not saying that one would be superior than the other. I think they're just gonna present things a little bit different, and there's nothing wrong with that. All right, Tito Rodriguez. Yes, industry as a whole. What would I change? I would change the attitude of the old guard. That's what I would change. And I'm familiar with the old guard. And I'm not saying that they're all the same, but there is an attitude out there that I think it needs an adjustment. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's see here. In your personal opinion, why do some audiophiles hate on budget gear? Joe, well, I just actually was kind of, um, I think that's it. I think that what happens, and I've allowed this to happen to me in the past where you build up a system to the point where you feel like you're just kind of looking down on everybody. And I guess that's human nature. I guess it happens to the best of us. And then you've got somebody out there saying, "Hey, I want to celebrate these new Unifies that I got," or whatever it is, and for some reason, um, you just kind of are smug about it, and I hate that attitude. And why do they do it? I don't know. I just wish that they wouldn't. I wish that that was something that would change, and that um, hi-fi would just be celebrated as a whole, no matter what. Hold on a second. All right. Let me just see here. Why do yeah, so I think, Joe, I kind of answered that you know what, Joe, let's do a podcast about that. We'll do a podcast about that and talk about that because I wanna sit in that with you for a while and chat about that. As per your experience, what is the minimum budget you would think that we need to spend to get really truly hi-fi sound? Less than you think. It's not about the money, guys. I mean, that's the reality. You get yourself a decent pair of speakers and you work on placement and you're there. You're there. Yeah, you can focus on, the preamp and the power amp and all that stuff. You could get into cables and all that stuff, but room, speakers, that's the starting point for hi-fi. And if you work with your room and you're not afraid to explore it and you're not afraid to do stuff that you think is completely crazy and you break all of the suggestions and rules when it comes to room calculators and setup calculators, I promise you this, that if you do that, you will venture into hi-fi much quicker than you think, and you're not going to spend a whole lot of money in doing it. If I was to throw out a number out there, I would say anywhere between 500 to 800 for me is probably where things are gonna get good, and that's for an entire rig, where it can get good anyways. Um, how would you compare the Mur Audio SP1? Oh my gosh, that speaker ripped my head off, which you liked, to your NX have you heard them at Munich? I've never been to Munich, I wish I could go. Boy, oh boy, that's a tough one. I love my NX, but man, those SP1s freaked me out. They freaked me out. Here's the advantage that those have over the NX. It seemed to me with those SP1s, I could almost sit anywhere in the room, and that's not easy to do. NX, you do have a sweet spot. You do, and Danny would agree with me. You got a sweet spot. So, might come down to room, might come down it's hard to say. I wish Muradia would send me a pair of those because I wanna get my hands on them. Let me see here. Large companies have a lot more R&D money. You can get the trickled down technology for way cheaper with the R&D money that was spent on previous product lines. You can't get with that with small niche companies. So, see, this is the discussion, and it's a good discussion to have. So, I don't think that we can just say it's A or it's B. I think there's going to be a middle ground playground where we're going to say both have advantages. We just got to recognize that, you know. Do I feel that there is a sonic difference between XLR and RCA connections for shorter runs, meaning from preamp to power amp? Sonic, minimal. Look, I have a hard time with cables. Maybe more than anything because there were times where I was convinced that I was hearing a difference. I go back to it and I start second guessing myself. And here's the bottom line. You throw up some room acoustics or you change your speaker positioning and you'll hear a difference and you'll know you hear a difference. You won't be questioning yourself. So I'm the kind of audiophile that would say everything matters. Everything can matter to a certain degree. But I personally have never heard XLRs and, single ended cables, a huge difference between the two. But XLR does have the advantage of really long runs. So if you're over 20 feet, for single ended, then at that point, having that additional ground is going to be fantastic. All right. With JBL, Yamaha, Pioneer, etc., you can get something great or way cheaper than what a small niche company reinvented. Okay, so just again, that conversation is going on. Um, that's great. Do two preamps give a wider sound stage versus a solid state preamp depth as well? In my experience, they can. Not always. It's not always the case, but when the amplifier design is legit and the engineer knew what the hell they were, pardon me, knew what the heck they were doing, then yes. Meaning, it's been my experience that the best of the best tube amps will give you a wider and deeper sound stage than the best of the best solid state. That's my opinion. Many will disagree, and I respect that opinion as well. And I would say maybe we're both not wrong. So let's just see here. Oh, is youth man is in here. Well, all right. Things just got a little crazy. You guys seen a youth man in that subwoofer video that he posted a while back? Little dicey there, youth man. I don't know what you were doing to that subwoofer, but hopefully I didn't request it back. My goodness sakes. All right, let's just see here. We're at 8:07, so I'm past my 1 hour mark. I'm going to just take a few more, and then I'm going to have to. I haven't eaten dinner, so I'm going to get some dinner with my lovely wife and help her out. But let me just see here. Ron, what would you say is the sonic signature and characteristics of the XLS Encore? As a starting point, if you've heard the original ELAC debuts, I don't know if you have, a little bit darker. They're similar, but the mid-range is cleaner and the upper mid-range has more detail retrieval, more clarity. It's just I feel like it's giving you a little bit more on top, and I feel like the mid bass is tighter, cleaner, more precise. Let's just see here. Oh yeah, Eric is on here. Hey Eric. Um, Eric is a good friend of mine. He just lives down the road. Have you ever heard Odyssey Audio Gear? Oh, you know what? That's what's his name? Is it Claus? Is that his name? You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, I want to. I want to hear the Odyssey amps because one, they're not crazy expensive, right? I mean, I'm going by memory, so I'm gonna sound like an idiot here, but I think like you hit the ground running like in the 2K range. Like I think that's kind of where you start playing around there. Yeah, yeah. I I I would love to check out that stuff. So yeah, I'll have to send out a email and see what happens. Thanks for answering questions. Yeah, no problem, Hayes. Absolutely, man. Eric says, "Were my JBLs the worst sounding speaker you ever heard, or is there worser?" Oh man, he had these crappy like JBL studio monitors, and Eric is actually the guy that is responsible for getting me into vinyl. Believe it or not, New Record Day, a large part of New Record Day has been inspired by this guy that's in the chat, Eric. So I had an all digital rig. He came over, he heard my system. There were things that he liked about it, but he's like, "Dude, come and listen to vinyl." And went over to his house and he had the worst setup that I've ever seen in my entire life. It's all cockeyed in the corner, and his speakers are like slammed up against the wall, and they're like 4 feet away. But he dropped the needle on it was Led Zeppelin 2, the Ludwig pressing, and even though it was awful, I heard the potential. I could hear dynamics, especially in those snare hits where I'm like, I think your speakers are about to break, but holy crap, that actually sounds really expressive. And there's something here that I don't have. So, yeah, that's how that crazy nonsense started. Are they the worst? No, no. Yeah, they were the worst. Yeah, I changed my mind. They were the worst. Remember when we blew them up? I think we hooked them up to that Adcom GFA 555, and I don't know what we did. The speaker like, bah! It was just dead. Vintage audiophile. Does perfection exist outside of the realm of audio? Maybe in your family. That's probably where you're going to find it. Yes. In audio, good luck, Chuck. Youth Man at New Record Day. No question here. Just want to say how much I love your new studio. Fantastic work, brother. Hey, thanks, man. I do appreciate that. Youth Man, and then Techno Dad, and then obviously Joe and Tell. Um, yeah, they told me to do a bunch of stuff like in the very beginning and be like, probably end up with a look like this. And I ignored all of it because I'm stubborn. But in the end, this is what we ended up with. And if you don't know, I'm in our bedroom, which is kind of my wife is just freaking rad. I mean, I've got a giant, like I can't tell you, a giant light as big as the sun, feet away from me. The bed's right here, and I've got a studio in here. She's awesome. So his digital sucked, but then I went home and they sounded like a cardboard box. Yeah, they did sound like a cardboard box. All right, guys. Um, any other question? I'm going to take. Let's do this. I will take 3 more questions, and then I'm going to call it a night. 3 more questions, and then I'm done. I gotta hang out with the wifey. Unless we're done. Do we have any other questions? This was a lot of fun. Certainly do appreciate all of you. If there's any patrons out there, Man, oh man. Thank you. And I'm sorry that I don't do such a great job of jumping into Patreon and doing like exclusive content. It's like you're just supporting me just because you're supporting me. And man, it means a lot. It really does. Truly. And I mean that humbly. I'm very grateful. Let's just see here. Okay. Joe has a question. How do you put, how do I put you in 2 times speed while oh, Joey, you son of a gun. Yeah, I do talk slow. Yeah, it's a lack of IQ. It's I gotta think before I speak. Um, yeah, still using my Energy 22 Pro monitors. Glad I turned into the live broadcast. Awesome, cool. All right. Trey, biggest congrats, Ron, on the twins, brother. Night, bro. Night. Yeah. All right. Let's it's a good place to stop, man. I had a lot of fun. I appreciate all of you guys. Truly. Yeah, you guys are awesome. So let's close up shop. Have a great night, and we'll do this again. Hey, Thomas and Stereo, you sly guy. Have you been in here the entire time? Not one question from Thomas and Stereo? Ah, you son of a gun. Did I put an ambient light on the backside of the MacBook? No, I did not. All right, guys. I'm gonna call it a night. I could do this for hours. Had a lot of fun. Good night, everybody.